So you want to see what it looks like inside of a Mudflood building? That's good. That's real good. But first, I want to point out that all Mudflood buildings have steps that lead up to the front door or steps that lead down. And the reason why is because they've had to make alterations to the building. And they'll always have a date on it, sometime in the 1800s. But if you noticed, on the left or right hand side of the door, you have windows, and below, you have bricked out windows. And this is what it looks like on the other side. Oh my days. Damp, dirty, rusty, and old. And this is another part of that same building. And I want you to notice the bricked out windows at the bottom, how they get smaller and smaller until you can't see them no more. And this is what you're dealing with on the other side. These are not basements. It's not the sewage. This was the original lower level. And they clear it out, remove all the mud and all the mess, and salvage what they can.
James said, I put a comment in a live stream the other day. I was talking about, I mentioned cards, how they was used as for divination, even before tarot, in my opinion. And James mentioned to me that somebody had asked him anyway if I had anything more to say on it, and I was delighted because it's something that that fascinates me. I find the whole story fascinating, the whole subject fascinating, and there's so much written about it, and so many conflicting things, and so many different ways of reading cards and adaptations, but it is a really, really fascinating subject. Right, there's 52 cards in a pack, that represents 52 weeks of the year. There's the red and black, which represents day and night, a duality in life. It can go as tricky or as simple as you want it, it's one of them, yeah? The four suits are like the four corners of the earth, or the four cardinal points, the earth, wind and fire and water, the four seasons, the 13 cards in each suit represent the 13 weeks of a season. Of each season we get 13 weeks, or if you want the 13 wonder months. It's just the symbology is just dripping from it, and it's like so based around the Gregorian calendar. Well adapted to, which it's gone through, and there's so many different iterations that it's gone through. Okay, see, this is one of the better articles I've found, because I've found some really confusing ones, and that this is one of the better ones I've found. Okay, I won't read it out, I won't bore you all to death. But some say the Chinese invented them before AD 1000. They reached Europe around 1360, not directly from China, but from Mamluk Empire of Egypt, as all things seem to do. A standard deck of cards has 4 suits, hearts, clubs, spades and diamonds. Each suit has 13 cards, ace 2 to 10, jack, queen and king. The whole deck has 52 cards total and 2 jokers, making 54 cards. Usually the jokers are discarded and kept to use in a few games, or are substituted for a lost damage card. It is believed that cards were originally painted on bone and wood. The history of suits shows interplay between words, shapes and concepts. So the jokers as well, it's saying, like, there's always a way to explain away. Like, think about it, you got a deck of cards in your pocket, yeah, you can play games just for amusement and to pass the time, or you can play games of chance to make or lose money, or you can use them for reading yours or other people's futures. They're just so much, and after the invention of the printing press and they could like mass produce them, they just exploded. It was popular amongst the higher classes and the lower classes. There's lots of things seem to be like horse racing, like used to be for like the upper classes and the working classes. The middle classes weren't into it. They aspired to own race horses, I suppose, some of them, but Anyway, I'm doing that scrolling thing, I apologise. Okay, suits included spades, royalty, clubs, peasants, hearts, clergy, diamonds, merchants. In some European countries, some decks contain a fifth suit called greens or leaves. This is very similar to the four major pillars of the economy in the Middle Ages. Hearts represented churches, spades represented the military, clubs represented agriculture, and diamonds represented the merchant class. So the Ace of Spades is said to be a spidale, or a death card. It is the most valued card in the deck. The Ace of Spades, Motorhead, that superb song. Some say the deck of cards is based on the calendar. 52 cards represent 52 weeks of the year. Red and black symbolise night and day. The 4 suits represent the 4 seasons. There are 13 cards to match a suit with a number of lunar cycles, and 12 court cards that represent the 12 months of the year. If you add up all the symbols in a deck, you add up to 365. So it's absolutely crazy, eh? So the surprising historical origins and significance of fortune telling, and the use of just normal cards, that's cartomancy. So there's a famous one there who told Napoleon's wife and Robespierre, Marat and other important figures on their fates. He was through a revolution, weren't he, that Robespierre? Anyway, 30 years later, when Lenormand was 44 years old, she met with a young Francis lady, Shelley. A socialite, aristocrat and friend of the Duke of Wellington. So again, we come across that Shelley, Lady Shelley. Is that Shelley's mum, like the poet Shelley's mum? Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent again. See, so she made money doing, look, tarot cards and their amalgam of ancient mythologies and pagan beliefs may be a bridge towards Catholicism itself. Right, but what I liked about this article is, like, chance, games of chance. What's proven trickier for social elites to justify are the modern games of chance that are fundamental to their own success. The modern stock market being the quintessential example. How does a capitalist society make playing the stock market look like labour, so that the high earnings that often come from it appear to be derived from proportional work? How do the affluent cleanse their earnings, overcoming the taint of chance through the appearance of work, thereby conferring moral legitimacy on the positions of power? The elite solution has been to disguise the stock market as a place of complex probabilities and algorithms, rather than what it is fundamentally is. Look, it is a chance rebranded as morally righteous labour. It goes on about lotteries, etc. It was just a good, amusing article, but it made me think about, you know, like games of chance. Like, they've been rebranded many times. Like in Germany, you had different things, like they had hearts, acorn, bells and leaves, and the French version, and well, English and French, you get known as the French playing cards, or the traditional deck that we know today, the hearts, diamonds, clubs, spades, boars and jacob, twin pillars, beloved of the Masons. But that's tarot law. But playing cards is cartomancy. So I'll look at the tricky PD page. I know people hate me for doing this. Well, hate me for a lot of reasons, but anyway, stop trying to be funny. And well, these are just some of the interpretations. It says they're most common interpretations in cartomancy, but I really believe that they've been around for a lot longer than tarot cards. I think they came first. And the divination, it goes back to as far back as they can date. Like I Ching is a form of divination. The Chinese is, in my opinion, you know, another version of it, but I think in those days, in like how easy it would be to carry a deck of cards and what you could do with it. Like the example we saw with the lady, she became rich as Creos through it. You can gamble your way to look at Las Vegas, and you know, luck, the game's a chance, and then the game of life, luck and chance are always brought into it, aren't they? In the way the suits just happen to be 52, 4 and 13 and line up with our astrological ways that we count the years. There's so much more to it as well. Like you can look into the different symbols of it. This is quite a good site as well, the symbology of playing cards. And playing cards and divination. Decks of playing cards brought by merchants to Europe were not for divination, so it says. Such playing cards came to Europe from Italy in the late 14th, 15th century. The game was called BITCHUTE Channel. Sorry. Tarocchia. See, it even sounds like tarot. From the Arabic Turquin, which translates to wayfarers, and thus the game of the wayfaring people. This card game established a basic card layout of 22 playing cards, used later for divination. Many playing cards in that Italian word, which sounds like tarocchi, were cards familiar to modern divination users, such as the Fool, the Empress, the Wheel of Fortune and the Star. But it eventually became playing cards, and was it weird just disguising tarot cards, but it's not, because tarot cards are 72 cards and I think it's 70, yeah, it's a different number anyway, 70 odd. So I just find it interesting that playing cards are, you know, growing up anyway, maybe not so much these days, but every home had a packet of playing cards, didn't they, you know? I'd go to my grand's and we had the same packet of playing cards, but I don't know, they were used on my mum had them when she was a kid, and they went back in the little plastic case, and you know, I wish I'd still had them, but I've always loved cards. And think cards are used with magicians. They don't use tarot cards to show you magic trick, they use playing cards. They look out, they're used with magic and chance and just all the casinos in the world, all the magic shows in the world. So yeah, I think they're more for divination than any tarot card. I think they're like a less fancy way, I think they're more real and like for everyday people. Okay, I'll keep it brief and leave it there because I know the sound's going to be lousy and I apologise. I spent last night, my pal spent ages showing me this way to redo my sound and clean it all up and stuff, but I'll try. Alright? Okay. Thank you for watching and goodbye. And if you have any thoughts or questions or information that you could add, please do comment.